Police blotter, nude elderly male. A South Buffalo Street caller reported a nude elderly man on a porch in the area. Lloyd couldn't find his wallet. No, he knew he left it right there on the coffee table, or maybe on the desk, on the kitchen counter next to the bed. How could a person find anything? All these papers, all this stuff. Why do we have so much stuff? The mailman keeps bringing paper, slipping it in all innocent through that slot in the door. You hear it shuck in, and it's another layer of dirt on your grave. Another thing, another piece of stuff. 75 years of stuff piling up. Report cards from when he was 8 years old. Letters from his mother. Bills, catalogs, instructions on how to use the microwave. The toaster, the can opener. 75 years of paper, enough to suffocate Lloyd, enough to drown a city. And still it kept coming. Still that sinister little snick of the paper slipping through the slot. The whole world is drowning in paper, and tissue boxes, and blankets, and keychains with people's names on them, and postcards from Hawaii. Lloyd's hands moved over the papers, the photographs and frames, the band-aids, the tweezers, the reading glasses. It was enough. He was done with all of it. 75 years was enough. Too much. It all had to go. His hands locked down on a pile. Magazines and Christmas cards and checkbooks. Holding it to his chest, his breath coming faster. He pushed open the door, out into the light, and he dolled it into the street. No, that wasn't right. No, then he just shipped it all to the street, to the outside world, and he'd still be in the box, the mail still snicking in every day. No, he had to get out himself. Lloyd left the door open and walked out into the street. Yes, this was better. The air breathed lightly on his cheek, springtime air. There were cherry blossoms on the tree across the street. His feet were hot in his shoes, so he unlaced them and stepped out, leaving them behind, then his socks, one at a time. He put his feet in the strip of grass between sidewalk and street, and remembered the park where he played when he was a kid. Grass like this, soft in April, so green it almost hurt to look. Walking along the sidewalk barefoot with his pal Harvey, ice cream dripping over the hand that held the cone, their shirts off, and Lloyd unbuttoned his shirt, letting it float gently to the ground, breeze in his chest hair. This was good. Nothing else felt like this. His belt was next, then the pants, jingling heavy to the ground, keys in the pocket. Boxer shorts last. Nothing closing him in now. Lloyd took in a deep breath and smiled. Down the street was a big, deep porch, like he remembered from when he was a kid, the kind with a porch swing. Lloyd sat down on the broad steps, cement cool against his skin, and settled back to watch the world go by. And more. Sorry.
That was a faux pas.
we can't applause for that. It was great.
Okay, thanks.
Encore.
Ed felt it right as the ball left his fingers. A perfect throw, rolling straight as the path to God down the lane. Light shining off its surface. He closed his eyes to hear the sweet clatter as the ball hit true, 10 pins down. You ever see anything so pretty, asked Ed, turning back to his boys. Cecil shook his head, slurping suds from his mustache. You're on fire tonight, Ed. Throwing with the angels, agreed Johnny, angling up to the ball return, his long fingers slotting into his own ball. Throwing with the angels. Ed nodded in a state of grace. Something special tonight. He knew he had that magic 300 in his fingers. He just had to step aside almost. A simple perfection speaking through him. Whatever happened to that Sherry, asked Ed. He could still remember the feel of her lips on his cheek last year after a second 300 game. Always thought it was her nominated him for the Hall of Fame in Kalamazoo. The way she looked at him sideways from behind the counter. Shiny red lips and a little smile like they had a private joke, just the two of them. She married that Kosank fellow, Cecil slumping back with a sorry throw. From last year's All-Stars, moved out to Illinois, I think. That girl had real class. Ed nodded his way back to the lane, last throw of the game. Head full of sherry and her long brown hair. Even under the alley uniform, you could tell she was built like one of those girls on the mud flaps. Tiny little waist, hips rolling under the edge of the shirt. Too young for him, but she let him dream. Ed held his hand over the air, thought again of her breath on his cheek, her gentle voice in his ear. Way to go, Ed. His fingers slid into the holes like home, the ball warm and alive in his hand. This is a good night, he thought. Letting go, rolling true as the word of the Lord. The boys jumping up almost before it hit. He could hear them yelling his name. A perfect 300. Stars shooting behind his eyelids, his heart swelling up. He turned around to see their faces once before tilting to the floor, Sherry's voice in his ear calling him softly home. Way to go, Ed.